Hello everyone, Beez here from MoshTalks. Nice to be with you again. So, I am about to talk to Bryan Garris from Knocked Loose. They are going to be doing a live stream. I had just asked him about that live stream. It's called Live at the Blue Room. You can get your tickets now. Here's Bryan Garris from Knocked Loose. Enjoy.
At first it was about maybe just waiting it out, and then it became more of like how to interact with fans, but we wanted to try to, I don't know, put our own little spin on it.
So when it comes to interacting with fans, how have you found lockdown? Like you've been quite quiet, all things Knocked Loose. It's been kind of, so many different bands have decided to do so many different things. It's been quiet in Knocked Loose world. Has that just been a case of you'd been going so hard for a couple of years, if the world's going to stop turning, you might as well take this time, or what's the deal?
Yeah, I guess it's a little bit of that. I guess we kind of just like, at first we're taking advantage of the break, and then it was kind of just like navigating how to stay engaged during a time like this. Like, we've never really been the kind of band to like really like be super, sorry if that's really loud in the background, but
that's cool.
Just be super present on social media. We've always kind of just used it to promote what's coming up or what's going on. So when it came time to that being the only thing that you really had to interact with fans, it was difficult figuring out how to interact without like changing how we've been. Like we're not really the kind of band to just like be all over your feed with a bunch of like unnecessary things. We just not that that's wrong. Like it's just not really us. So we kind of just used it for promoting, but there was nothing to promote until now.
So how have you found lockdown? How have you found it personally, not just from a band perspective, just as Bryan? How have you found the last year?
Personally, I mean, I hate it. I don't want to seem like, I don't know, I don't want to complain, because I understand that it could be much worse, and I understand that there are a lot of people that have gone through much worse. So in the year, I tried to be productive. I tried to do things for myself, and I tried to take advantage of the time off to pursue other things. But personally, I just really love being on the road. So it happened for us in a time period where we were extremely busy as a band. We released our album, A Different Shade of Blue, in the summer of 2019, and then we were on the road consistently, like no breaks, no stops until we were told to stop. So it was definitely weird for us, and it's weird for us to not be on the road. But like I said, like I don't want to complain. I understand that it could be much worse.
Is that the plan as soon as time allows as well, to just you make a good point that as soon as the record dropped, and for the 3 or 4 years before that as well, it was just constantly go time. Is that what you're hoping for as soon as the world allows it as well, to just get straight back on the train?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we enjoy doing. That's what we've always enjoyed doing. When we first started touring, it was just all about the excitement of traveling and playing shows, and luckily, like throughout the years, that excitement hasn't really died down or gone away. So it's only gotten better, and it's only gotten more comfortable to allow us to do it as much as we do. So as soon as we're allowed to, that's what we will continue to do, because we just like playing shows, and we like making friends and being on the road. I miss traveling so much.
It's cool to hear someone that is like sociable in real life but not as sociable on social media? Like, is because I was talking, we had Dino from Fear Factory was on the channel yesterday, and he was describing touring as like you're in a tour like a tin can and everyone's on top of each other, and like everyone has a different perspective about touring life. What is it that you love about touring so much? Is it that experience of personal interaction with like-minded people every day because people are coming to knock loose shows?
Yeah, I would say it's very much that. Like we still tour in a van, so it definitely gets crowded at times. But like, I love that. I love like being in the van with my friends, listening to music and eating like terrible food and just playing 6 shows every night. And like for 2019 specifically, with us releasing A Different Shade of Blue, a lot of that was focused around like headliners and creative things that we could do to help the record. So like on a headline tour, like we're very, very hands-on with the things that we do as a band. So especially with the headline tour, it's like we're going to pick every band that's on the bill. We're going to pick every local band that opens the shows. We're going to pick every room that we play in. And so like we literally made it to just be as fun as it could possibly be. Like it's a lot of work, obviously, a lot of long drives, a lot of setting up and tearing down. And with the now we're talking about like production and lights and all these different things that are just that we're not very used to. So it's a learning experience for sure, but it's fun. I just love it. I love the like grind. When we started touring, we would have 2 bands in one van, and we would sleep on the concrete and Walmart parking lots. And I would still do that if that was the only way that I could be on the road. I would still do that, just because of the sheer enjoyment of doing it.
And so when it comes to production being a new thing, how does that play into Live from the Blue Room? Because that's the thing that's excited me the most about live streams. I've been lucky enough to host a couple of them, and like I was involved with seeing how the Trivium stream came together with fucking Muse's production person. That was a trip. Like when it comes to the best production especially for a band like yours and a record like A Different Shade of Blue, how has it been putting together a streaming experience for the Knocked Loose live experience?
It's been difficult, but exciting, because like these conversations it's the first time we're having them. Like as far as production, like whether that be live or whether that be for the stream, like we never thought that we'd be having these conversations. And when it came to the stream, like I'm very aware that like it's just better live. So it's like, how can we kind of like shift people's expectations, give them a little bit something more to look at, because you might not get that feeling that you get when you're there in person. That like adrenaline, or that like feeling in your stomach that like something crazy could happen at any second, like just the feeling that makes people come back to shows, the feeling that gets you addicted. So it was like, how do we kind of shift expectations and create something that's a little bit more visual, so that it's still exciting to look at and it's still its own experience without it solely relying on the adrenaline of a live show.
Do you think that's a harder thing to do for a band like Knocked Loose? Like, it's one thing when Behemoth do it, and they can do it in a castle and make it black and white, and they've got that whole grand thing going on. Whereas but that kind of plays into like big, bold, heavy metal. Whereas Knocked Loose shows are more like trying to not get punched in the throat. Like, does that create a different kind of challenge for the production?
Definitely, because I like the fact that Knocked Loose can kind of exist anywhere. Like we don't really need anything. We need like our instruments, and that's it. Like we don't rely on having some big elaborate show, but at the same time, I don't think that it's weird if you would see us in that setting with a big elaborate show. So I do like that Knocked Loose can kind of exist anywhere, but after just relying on the stripped down, raw, aggressive, like go 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 environment for a live concert, now approaching these conversations of production, it's like, well, what can we do that's like a seamless transition? So it's like the last time you saw Knocked Loose, we played on the floor, we didn't even have a backdrop, and all of our stuff was broken. But this time you're seeing Knocked Loose, there's fire and there's like mascots and all this crazy stuff. Like, we don't want to do that. So we kind of we're trying to figure out an appropriate way to kind of like transition into into that atmosphere, do things that we still feel like we could pull off within the world of Knocked Loose that we've created.
That's something super interesting to me, because I saw you play Aftershock Festival. And it was funny for one of those festivals where like so many bands play across a weekend. The three that really stood out to me were Slipknot, because they play every bit as fast and hard as they did back in 1999. These days it's fucking mind-blowing. Ghostmain, I thought that translated really well to Outdoors on the second stage, and yourselves. And one of the things that I think separated you from everyone else is the fact that there was absolutely no live backing tracks at all. In your attitude when you came onto the stage was kill, crush, destroy. Do you think that mindset being on stage separates you from enough bands anyway? Because it certainly felt like it that weekend.
Well, first of all, thank you. I appreciate that. Second of all, so I don't really know, because that's just the only way that we've ever played. So it's just aggressive, and it's just it's never been like a conversation like this is how we're going to be. It's just kind of like how we all are when it comes to playing live shows. So moving forward, when we incorporate a bigger show experience, I still think that vibe will carry over. There just might be, I'm still going to tell you to like crush, kill, and destroy. There just might be a light show behind me.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So like, yeah, I don't know. It was never really like a conversation that we had. It was just like the shows that we like and the shows that we enjoy playing are aggressive and just, I don't know. It's impossible for me to like scream and yell and like without just getting as pumped up as my body will let me get. Like, it's just pure adrenaline, and I'm just screaming at the top of my lungs. So like, I kind of have to be that, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. Like, it's funny, Bryan, like, this is our first time talking. I've liked your band since the second I heard them, but I haven't been interviewing bands for a couple of years. And I'm interested in that mindset versus you being you seem like a pretty mellow dude. Like, is Knocked Loose a necessary thing for you to kind of get out the day-to-day pent-up frustrations, or how does Knocked Loose, being this rage-filled beast, interact with your life and your way of being?
Yeah, I would absolutely say that it's very therapeutic for me. It's 100% like my release, and I don't know, it's like the best one ever. So I do get that a lot, like upon meeting people for the first time. They're like, whoa, you're so different. And I'm glad that that's how I'm viewed, because I don't know if I would want to be who I am on stage just walking around every day.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, I've never really thought about it. I am a very like calm and like monotone person normally, but then when I get to like be a part of the band that I'm with, and we get to play together, it's just like an absolute release for me, and it's very therapeutic, and it's very good for me. I believe it's helped me with a lot, just being able to have that, to get everything off my chest, whether it be writing or whether it be performing.
How have you managed to do that in the last year then? Like, where has that catharsis gone with no day-to-day knocked loose activities that we know of?
I've been focusing on strengthening relationships that I've had that I haven't gotten to devote the necessary time to because I'm on the road as much as I am. Like my two younger brothers are my best friends in the entire world, and touring as much as I do, you miss a lot. You miss graduations, you miss birthdays, etc. So being able to have this time and really just like spend it with my family and get as close with them as I can has been great, and it's been very good for me and my mental health. And also, like, Knocked Loose is still working. Knocked Loose is a very we really enjoy to be busy. We really enjoy to be busy, and we really enjoy to have a lot on our plate. It's a very much a full-time job for every member. So there's still a lot that we're doing in this time period. Just because we aren't performing live doesn't mean that we aren't getting together once a week at least, or finding other ways to other directions to point our energy towards.
I'll ask you a bit more about that in a second, but something that I'm really picking up on in this chat is you have Oldham all over your merch, and when I say, like, what have you done to kind of release that catharsis, it's been like, well, I've hung with my family. Is that like, in a microcosm, it feels like that home vibe, that what Knocked Loose was when you started it's integral to what Knocked Loose is moving forward. Do you know what I mean? So some bands kind of leave their hometown, like, get a profile and everything changes. With Knocked Loose, it feels like that close-knit family feel is something that's crucial to your DNA. Am I right in saying that, or am I reading too much into it?
No, you're absolutely right. I would say that, and I think that goes across the board for every member of the band. We're lucky to have a very strong support system back at home between our friends and our family. So we're very proud of where we're from, and we very much enjoy being a part of the Louisville hardcore community because of how hard it is, how hard working it is as just like a local hardcore community. So I feel like we took a lot of what we learned at home, whether it be from our family or from our friends, just because of where we're at, into touring when we started to hit the road.
Can you explain Oldham to me? Because I've been all over the States, but I've not been to Kentucky. And the only places that I've ever lived is I lived in London, and now I live in Los Angeles. So literally all I know is big metropolitan cities.
Yeah.
So can you tell me what Oldham is like, and how a band like yours grows in somewhere like Oldham?
Yeah. Well, I will say that it's basically Louisville, Kentucky. That's like the city, and it's like the biggest city in Kentucky.
Right.
But still, like, not even a quarter of like what a London or Los Angeles would be. It's still a very, very small city. And then about 20 to 30 minutes on the outside of the city is Oldham County, which is where me and the rest of the members of the band grew up. And it's basically just like the suburbs of Louisville. It's just a very heavily wooded area. You're like way back in the forest. And it's just like a bunch of, like, a very small town vibe, local businesses, schools, and neighborhoods. So growing up, to go to shows, we would go to Louisville, which, like I said, is only 20 to 30 minutes away. And that's where we like became a part of the Louisville hardcore community and met the people that we met there. But even then, it's a very small place. So like growing up and seeing all the exciting things that are happening in New York or Chicago or Los Angeles or any of the major cities, and just getting like constantly skipped over by major tours or whatever it may be, it just made us feel like we kind of had to work harder to create something of our own. And it gave us a sense of like, oh, the closest that this show is coming is Chicago, and that's a 4.5-hour drive. Yeah, we're going to pack the car full of people and we're going to go, because there's no way that they're going to come to Kentucky. And I think that when we started touring, we kind of kept that energy, because it was like, there's nowhere that we won't play. Like a bunch of bands, they want to become a band, and they want to play a fest in LA, and they want to play a fest in New York, and that's really it. They don't want to play Ohio. They don't want to play Memphis. So when we started touring, we just played anywhere that would book us, and we did it over and over and over again. And we kind of had that mentality of like, if we want something, we kind of have to build it ourselves, because that's how it was growing up in Louisville when it came to music.
When it came to Louisville's hardcore scene, I think more than any other genre of music, like hardcore is so determined by its region. Like you can tell a New York hardcore band, you can tell an LA hardcore band. What is the scene like in Louisville, Kentucky? Like even like as a state, I wouldn't know, let alone inside Louisville. Like is there a particular characteristic to the bands? Does that kind of, I don't want to say angry, but pissed off attitude towards the fact that other scenes might garner more attention? Like what's the scene like there?
I don't know if there's like a specific sound from Louisville, but I think that you're kind of just going to get a mix of everything, because it's such a small city that one thing that I will say about Louisville it's very inclusive, because we can't really afford to be exclusive because there's not enough people. So we just want more people coming to the shows. So it's like no matter the background, no matter what kind of person you are, if you're around, like you're welcome to be there and you're encouraged to return. So when I started going to shows and I was young and I couldn't drive, I met this guy named Scott, and he would be like, are you going to the show next weekend? And I would be like, well, I haven't heard about it. He would give me a flyer, and I would be like, yeah, I hope that I can go. If I have a ride, I'll be there. And he was like, I'll come pick you up. And he would just drive all the way out to Oldham County just to pick me up to go to these shows. And it was because that was just another body at the shows. And then as far as the bill, like the bill would be completely mixed, because you would be trying to pull an audience from all these different little branches of hardcore that exist within Louisville. So you would have like metal kids and hardcore kids and pop punk kids all there at the same time. So like it was always very mixed growing up, and I feel like maybe that's a huge reason why we sound the way that we sound, because like there's a little bit of everything thrown into our music. And in Louisville it was just hardcore. Like you didn't really focus on what to call it. You just wanted to put shows together that were going to have a good turnout and have a lot of, and just give everybody an opportunity to have fun and walk away with something.
This is fucking cool, Bryan, because I talk to so many hardcore bands, and ambition isn't always high on the agenda, right? Like I've on my list of things to talk to you about, I've got the fact that you went out with Motionless in White, right? And I know that there's loads of hardcore bands that would get snobby at that point. I've got a mate in a notable hardcore band who I asked when Warped Tour was a thing. I was like, would you do Warped Tour? And he actively laughed in my face. How does that attitude not carry into Knock Loose?
We were supposed to do Motionless in White. That was one of the things that got taken away from us because of the pandemic. So fingers crossed that we get that opportunity again, because we were very excited about it. For when it comes to our approach at stuff like that, it's always been the same. Like from the very beginning, when nobody was coming to our shows, when we were playing DIY house shows making no money, it was like, we're going to tour with whoever is down to tour with us, no matter what they sound like, because that's not going to change what we sound like. It's just putting us in a different atmosphere. It's maybe bringing somebody over on our side. So as things started to grow, we kind of kept that mentality. And when it came to things like Warped Tour, it's like, okay, so thousands and thousands of people are going to walk by our stage every single day. Yeah, we're going to play. So Warped Tour didn't change what Knocked Loose sounded like. Touring with Motionless in White wouldn't have changed what Knocked Loose sounded like. And like I mentioned before, it wouldn't really change our live show either. It's still going to be aggressive and it's still going to be kill, kill, kill. But it just puts us in a different atmosphere. I would say that the weirdest tour that we've done is we opened up for A Day to Remember.
Right.
That was probably the most like different tour that we've done, because A Day to Remember has like far surpassed any like subgenre that Knocked Loose is associated with, and they've just branched out to like full blown normies that are there for like the sing-alongs and the good vibes and stuff like that. And the tour was very, very good for us. I know that I'm not really selling it, but the tour was amazing for us. It put us in front of a lot of people. It was the biggest U.S. tour that we've ever done that wasn't a festival. But I will say that every single night there was definitely like a handful of people that you could like visibly see from the stage that were just so bummed during our set, which like I think is funny. I was not bothered by it. I think that it's funny to it's interesting to play the role of being the scary band.
Yeah.
Because like I wouldn't really consider my band as people to be scary at all. Like we're all just kind of nice and like inviting and normal. But then in that atmosphere, like I can understand how our live show might be perceived as scary, but in that atmosphere, we're the scariest fucking band on the world, scariest band in the world. So we kind of just like leaned into it. Like if we're gonna be the scary band on the bill, we're gonna be fucking scary and we're gonna go crazy, and it's gonna make us play harder. But that didn't change what we sounded like. That didn't change the fact that like after I got off tour with A Day to Remember, I went home and went to hardcore shows. Like I think people are like too worried about that, and I feel like it was a much bigger deal like 2017, 16 when we were doing Warped Tour. Like that was people cared a lot more. But I feel like before the pandemic, and hopefully it carries over to after the pandemic, I feel like that's kind of going to go away, because you have bands that are getting big that are just so different. There's just so many bands doing different things now. Normally there's like, okay, this is the cool thing in hardcore. It's like there was a while when it was like, okay, the cool thing is to be a crossover band and every band in the world sounds like Metallica. But now it's just like, it's cool to just do whatever and everybody sounds different. And I think that that's going to really help things become a lot more mixed going forward, which I think is, I mean, obviously I think it's a good thing because that's kind of been our whole thing since the beginning, but it just makes it cooler. Like if you're in a band, like you want to play in front of people, like you're not going to just play the same hardcore show every single weekend. Like that ceiling is very, very low. And you look at bands like, this is the last thing I'll say because I can go on about this for forever. But you look at bands like Terror. Terror's been a hardcore band for a really, really long time. Yeah. And Terror has never sounded different. They sound like Terror. You can listen to their new record. You can listen to their first record. It sounds like Terror. It's actually funny because I don't think Scott Vogel's voice has literally ever changed.
Nope.
And, but they tour with whoever they want, whenever they want, and they're still a very successful band. They're still a very important name in hardcore. We took them on tour. A lot of people were like very, very confused as to why they would tour with a band like us. And it's like they do that so that they can remain a band, because whenever like hardcore kids are too cool for Terror, and they stop coming to Terror shows. Like, oh, I've been seeing them for 10 years. I don't have to go. Like, okay, Terror tours with a band like Knocked Loose, who just did Warped Tour. Now they're playing the kids that go to Warped Tour, and now those kids are going to go to Terror shows for 10 years until they're too cool for it. So it's just like, I think that if you want to take your band serious, it's really important to just like get out there and play.
I agree, and I love the ambition that comes with it. I mean, I saw Every Time I Die open for My Chemical Romance on Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge, and I saw them do A Day to Remember when I was back in London as well, like both sets of bands. And to me, what I love about that, there's so much to chew up that we spoke about there, but what I love about that is that it's getting the message out to people that might not be aware of it. I always say, like, nobody's first, no matter how cool everyone wants to think they are, no one's first favourite band were Napalm Death, right? Like, everyone comes in through something, and if Knocked Loose can be that band, I think that's an exciting thing. Do you find that are you finding that walls are coming down as well? Because something that really stood out about A Different Shade of Blue was that it was a harder sounding record than Laugh Tracks. It's a heavier album, and so many people, when they get a taste of success, start going a little bit more radio. Start employing a producer that's going to make it a bit more palatable. And Knocked Loose went the other way. Can I ask you about that as a window into the creative process with your band? It feels like it's about what's best for your music and not what gets you in front of more people.
Yeah. So I would say that Knocked Loose likes to write all together. We like to get into a room and we like to jam. And I think that when we do that, a lot of our personalities come out into the music. And I think that as individuals, we're all very different when it comes to our musical influences. So working in an atmosphere where every single person in the band is pitching ideas and rejecting ideas and working on ideas together, I think that what's bound to happen is you're going to get a little bit of everything. But one thing that I will say is consistent throughout every single member of our band is we just like really heavy music. So we never sit down and talk. Our next album is going to be like this, and this is what we're going to do, and this is where we're going to go, blah, blah, blah. Like, we haven't done that. The only thing that has ever been agreed on is that we're going to be heavy. We're not going to be the band that all of a sudden goes soft. Because it's just not who we are. It's not what we like. I remember when we signed to Pure Noise Records, on the day of the announcement, we got a comment that was like, oh, I'll bet money that their next record has clean singing on it. And I was like, why? Like, that's just not who we are. That we've never given you any any reason to believe that we're just going to do that all of a sudden. And it's just not really what we like to do. I think that when we went to write A Different Shade of Blue, versus writing Laugh Tracks, something that was different is that we dedicated certain time periods to writing, whereas Laugh Tracks was like, hey, we're home, we should get together. Can you get together Monday? Yeah, we'll get together Monday. We write, and then we leave it alone until we can get together again. With A Different Shade of Blue, it was like, we're going to go away and we're going to write this record, and we're going to do a writing session this month for 2 to 3 weeks, and then we're going to do a writing session this month for 2 to 3 weeks. And it's just like that time period to solely focus on your music with no distractions. And I think that it was just an opportunity to really challenge ourselves to write more intricate songs, challenge ourselves as musicians to write songs that are a little bit harder for us to play, and kind of just like up the notch. We had already been touring off of Laugh Tracks for so long that we knew what worked really well, and we knew what we really enjoyed to play. So it was like, let's make everything a little bit faster, because it's fun to play faster. Let's make everything heavier. Let's make everything a little bit more aggressive, and just focus on it more, like devote more time to it than we had gotten to in the past. And I think that truly made a huge difference.
And so, have you guys known each other since school?
Me and our bass player have known each other since elementary school.
Wow, that's wild. Fuck.
Yeah, so since about 5th grade. And then our guitar player, Isaac, is the youngest in the band. He's like 23 maybe. So I met him when he was like 13, 14 years old. And then our drummer, he's like 25. So like
right.
he's younger as well. And they went, so Oldham County is split into 3 schools. You have South Oldham, North Oldham, and Oldham County, which is right in the middle. Me and our bass player Kevin, we went to South Oldham, and the rest of the band went to Oldham County. So they were a little bit further away, and I didn't meet them until I had already graduated high school.
I only ask because when you talk about being in the same room and seeing the whites in each other's eyes and that personality coming out, that usually comes with a group of people that are friends that are in a band. And I think of a band like, I don't know, Deftones, that have known each other since they were teens, and on they go together. Do you think that there's a lot that can be said for the level of honesty that you have with one another? Is that the kind of honesty that enables you to scrap almost an entire album's worth of shit?
Yeah, absolutely. And trust me, there's more than an album worth of stuff that we scrapped. So it's just like knowing these guys for as long as I've known them and being on the road with them for as long as I've known them. Like, not only do you just like you know a person inside and out, but you really learn how to navigate certain conversations with them. You learn how each other work. You learn like what bothers a person, what doesn't bother a person. And I think that really helps like grow productive conversations because our drummer and our bass player are 2 very different people. So you wouldn't approach a conversation the same way, a serious conversation, to each of them. So it's like the more time that we spend together, the more you learn how to talk to one versus the other. And I think that really helps a band dynamic when you're going to be spending as much time together as we do, because like you're gonna fight, you're gonna argue, there are gonna be times when you hate each other, you're gonna be stuck on like a 16-hour drive from Arizona to Oklahoma, and you're gonna want to fight every single member of your band, but I think that's bound to happen. Like, you spend that much time with anybody, you're gonna argue, so it's just about learning how to navigate those conversations to be a better bandmate, I guess.
Who controls the stereo in the Knocked Loose van?
Whoever's driving.
Ah, good. That's I asked Red Fang this question last week, and they said the exact same thing. Who's got the best and worst music taste in Knocked Loose then?
I would say that I have the best and the worst. I'm gonna say that I have the best because obviously I think that what I listen to is the best, but I will say that I have the worst because it's so random that I'm like really bad about like a one song guy. So like right. I'll be in like the mall in like a terrible store, and over the radio I'll hear just like the most generic pop song ever, and for some reason I'll be like, wow, this song is awesome, and I'll pull my phone out and I'll say like, what song is this? I'll download it, and then I'll just listen to it on repeat until I hate the song.
Right.
I'm sure for the rest of the members of my band, they're all just like, God, turn this fucking song off, please. But yeah, I can't help it. I like what I like, and it ranges from like country music to hardcore music to pop music to electronic. Like I truly like it all. and that's something else that's fun when it comes to like being in a band, is like there's not a lot of bands that we agree on musically, because we're all so different as far as our personal tastes. So like every now and then you'll find a band that every member of the band agrees on, and we'll just like play the hell out of it, because it's just like a whole new bonding experience. Like you have every person in the band jamming out. Gojira is a big example of that, where every single member of my band is such huge fans of them.
Yeah.
And so it's a long drive, and you want to get everybody pumped. Like start the drive off with Gojira, everybody's engaged, everybody's excited. And then as people start to doze off and nap, that's when you kind of just like put on Dua Lipa or whatever I'm currently obsessed with.
This is good, man, because the thing is, like, I work online, so all I see are, like, fucking hateful comments all the time, until Gojira turn up like a fucking white swan, and everyone's just like, ah! I hear you. Are you excited about the potential of going on the road with them in October? That is a hell of a fucking tour, Bryan.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited. That was a huge moment for everybody in my band getting that text message.
I bet
that we were getting that offer. So obviously, like in the state of the pandemic, like these things have been talked about for so long that like I'm hoping that it actually gets to happen. But we've known about it for so long that like it's like every time we get together, we're like, yo, that might happen, and we get excited all over again.
So, on to things that are more exciting. As you mentioned earlier on, your era of bands, and it's those kind of bands that excite me the most, whether it's yourself and Code Orange, or Gulch and Gatecreeper, or Jesus Piece, or all of these bands that sound so different from one another but are part of the same thing. My big thing is that hardcore has never had its moment in the sun when it comes to mainstream popularity, and by that I don't mean being on the VMAs, but I do mean, you know, a big hardcore band. If you're to ask yourself who are the biggest hardcore band of all time, it's like, what, Sick of It All, Hatebreed? Like, yeah. It's not Metallica, right? Do you feel like this scene can break the mold for that? Do you feel like this scene can at least... I mean, it's the most exciting scene in heavy music, and has been, in my opinion, for the better part of the last half a decade. Can big impact be made by this hardcore scene?
I think that's kind of... It honestly just depends on how you look at it, and I think it depends on what your perception of, like, being big is, because... I had this conversation recently with a friend. It's weird to think about, like, so you're right, it's never really been mainstream, but at the same time, like, it used to be on TV, because you used to have, like, Headbangers Ball and stuff like that. And that's how, growing up, I found a lot of bands.
Same.
So, like, to some people, that's huge. Like, if Knocked Loose was on TV, my parents would freak out. And that's not really a thing anymore. So, like, it's kind of... But at the same time, with that being said, I think that there are a lot of, like, opportunities happening recently that are kind of opening the door for hardcore bands to become a little bit more mainstream. Like, you mentioned Code Orange, like, obviously a great example, with, like, all the work that they've done with, like, wrestling. And then you have bands like Turnstile, who have, like, they're playing all these festivals that are, like, so far removed from hardcore that it's, like, such a huge opportunity to kind of, like, it's just like casting a bigger net. You're just like, you're catching all these, like, Bonnaroo kids, and, like, hopefully
when they did Camp Flognor out here, it was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the specific example that I was thinking in mind, was that fest. It's just, like, so cool that hardcore bands are getting opportunities like that, and I think that that's kind of opening the door, because like you mentioned Ghostmain earlier. Ghostmain's fucking awesome, and he's huge, and he loves hardcore, and it's like this weird bridge into hardcore. Like, people watching that, and they're like, this guy's getting a face tattoo on stage. There's chainsaws, there's fire, but it still kind of sounds like rap. Like, it's gonna make people want to dive. It's gonna make people want to dive deeper into that and figure out where it's coming from. And I think that stuff like that is just opening the door for like other hardcore bands to get bigger opportunities.
What do you think it is? Do you think it's fashion? Do you think it's aggression? Like, because to me, like, I've done this job since 2002, so I've been part of this big sea change that saw rock music once upon a time as a legit mainstream fucking thing, and where we are today and how that has come to be. When it comes to like mainstream acts like fucking Tyler the Creator going, "Hi, Turnstile, do you want to turn up and play?" I think it's as much about aggression as anything else, because your bands, your scene, all of those bands that I mentioned as part of your scene, all deal in aggression. Like, no one's fucking playing synthetic sounding music for active rock radio. Do you think that the fact that makes it a little bit cooler? What do you think it is that makes those kind of bands and those kind of artists reach out to bands from your scene?
I would definitely say that it's the aggression. I feel like even if you don't really like hardcore music, if you just like pick anybody off the road and pull them into a hardcore show, like, they're gonna be blown away. They're gonna be sitting there like with their jaw to the floor. It's why, like, a couple years ago, fucking Barstool Sports shared a video of Dare playing at Sound and Fury.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's fascinating to watch, and also like being there and being in that environment I mentioned earlier, like, you get that feeling in your stomach that like something dangerous might happen, and you're on the edge of your seat, and it's just like, it's a very like for a lot of people at least, it's a very addicting feeling, and it just makes you like, you have to have it again. You have to go deeper. You have to it's like a dangerous kind of fun.
Agreed.
I think that's something that pulls people in for sure.
Were you there for Have Heart at Sound and Fury? I don't suppose you were. Were you?
No, I was. Yeah.
Yeah, fucking, like, that was. I've seen some chaos shows in my time, but Jesus, like, yeah. I'd seen the poster for Sound and Fury so many years before moving here. Fucking hell. Who would you want to play with outside of the walls of rock and metal? If I said you can play with any mainstream artist, who would Knock Loose go well with?
I was thinking about this the other day because a long time ago, in maybe 2016 or 2017, we played a free show in New York City on 420 with Danny Brown. And it was just Knocked Loose and Danny Brown. And I think that was so cool. So I think that it would be awesome to play with more rappers or more rap artists. I think that, but I mean like actual rappers, not like screamo rappers. And not anything against that, because I would play those shows as well. But I just think that it's kind of like a cool dynamic to have, like, to be in that atmosphere, because those shows, people like to go crazy too. Like, it might be a different crazy. They're not like beating the shit out of each other, but they're like moshing and they're crowd surfing and stage diving. So like, it's like the same energy, just a different sound behind it. So I think that would be really cool.
So, last question before I open this up to the chat. If you're in the chat, do feel free to start asking some questions, and I'll ask some of yours in a little minute. But something that's been fascinating to me that was a bit of a worry a little while ago was that when people can come back to shows, will they? Right? That was the big question. Like, how soon are people going to be willing to come back to shows? Now, I live in LA. Everything has been pretty fucking shut for the last years. They have just opened cinemas, and I couldn't go there fast enough to see Kong versus Godzilla. It feels like everyone has done their bit at this point in time. Everyone has worn their mask. Everyone is getting their second vaccine. Yada yada yada. Does that worry no longer exist when it comes to people coming out to shows, when tours start being announced? Like, things are, I mean, you've announced the tour this week. Does that kind of fear no longer exist?
I definitely think that it's going to take some time. I think that even when shows come back, that it's going to take some time for a lot of people to feel comfortable again, or there's going to be like a readjustment period. But I think that that's fine. I just think that everybody should navigate it based on their own comfort. I think that, I mean, even the tour that we announced is like months and months away.
Yes.
That's still kind of hoping that like it gives it more time, even more time for things to go back to normal. I will say that for the first time in this whole thing that I do feel hopeful, which was really hard in the beginning because like when everything started happening or started to, when everybody started to kind of learn about it. Knocked Loose was in Southeast Asia, and it was very scary to try to figure out how to, I mean, we didn't know anything about it. We just got a text from like a manager like, hey, you should watch out for this thing on the news because it's over there. And it was like following us. And there hadn't even been like any confirmed cases in America yet, so we're over there touring and we're in like a different country every single day, and on the news it's just following us. Like literally day one was Indonesia, and we get the text that it exists, so we start looking, just watching for it, and then the next day we play Singapore, and the news says that somebody in Indonesia died the day before, and then the next day we play Malaysia, and it's like somebody in Singapore has it. And it literally followed us for the entire tour. And I remember thinking, like, man, if I can just get home, like, I'll feel much more comfortable. So the tour ends and we go home. And then it just, like, turns out home was probably the worst place to be. And the day that everything shut down for good, my bags were packed. I was about to go to the airport to fly to Europe to start a tour with Madball in Harm's Way. And literally within an hour before I was supposed to go to the airport, I get the text, tour's canceled for now. And then for those like first couple months, you would hear like, oh, it's coming back in the summer. It's March, but like, shows will be back in the summer. And then summer's like, nope, maybe the fall. And then the fall's like, no. So I would say that for the first time, I feel hopeful.
I couldn't agree more. That's it. It's just, there's only so many times you can be told that it's coming back before. I hope to. Brandon Zwig asked the first question, who asks, who are your favourite bands?
My favourite band of all time is going to shock you, but it's Matchbox 20.
Really?
Yeah. That's my favorite band. It's been my favorite band since I was a kid. A huge fan. It's my dad's favorite band, so a lot of it is like we share that love for them, and it's kind of like spread to my whole family. I don't know if my family cares as much as me and my dad do, but it's just like we all really love them. I
love that Buckley from Every Time I Die is mad for the Counting Crows as well. I like that this is a shared thing.
Yeah. So I will say that when it comes to like heavier music, Every Time I Die is really up there for me. Like I don't know where I would place them, but definitely top 5. Hatebreed is up there for me. I'll stop there because I can go forever. I'll just start to second guess myself, and I'll list more bands, and before you know it, I'll have 20 bands in my top 5.
I can relate. Thomas Screech says he was at the Spinelli show the night before the album release, and that it is one of the best highlights of his life. Glad to hear that. So, Tame Inc. asks, is there any plans to go to Europe with that Gojira tour?
I don't know specifically with the Gojira tour package, but I know that I am itching to get back to Europe. I feel like it's been so long, even though it was like the end of 2019, so like it wasn't too long ago, but it's just something that I've missed so much throughout this whole thing, and just like can't wait to get back over there. So like we are talking about when we can come back and how we're going to come back. I just don't know how or when that's going to be yet.
Adam Virgin Witch asks, would you ever stream on Twitch?
I would, yeah. It's something that I've been thinking about a lot, actually, especially through this, because it seems like everybody's kind of popping up with Twitch channels and stuff. And my friend, my friend Tom from Stray.
Nice.
That's even, I'm pretty sure his Twitch name is just Tom from Stray, if you want to check that out. But he streams like guitar stuff where him and the drummer of his band work on music. And I watched that stream yesterday, and a lot of it was him just like talking and hanging out with chat and just like just talking. And I thought that was so cool and something that I hadn't really thought of. Like, I kept thinking like, well, if I stream, I have to be good at video games, and I'm just not good at video games. So now that I know that that's not really the case, like I've definitely been thinking about it. Like maybe I'll just start one and just like talk shit with people.
Yeah, that's literally been what I've been doing during lockdown. Like when my whole fucking profession went in the shit, I saw a couple of people on here and was like, that seems like fun. Yeah. Shout out to Tom from Stray from the Path as well. Have you got a good memory with Tom from Stray from the Path? Have you toured together?
We have, yeah. I have so many memories. I'm actually, he's a really good friend of mine, and over the pandemic, we've just gotten so much closer. But I will give a really cool story about Tom.
Yes.
That some people may not know. So Noctilus's first time in California ever. It was 2000, maybe 15, 14 or 15. But our first time in California ever, Tom hits us up and asks if we would like to get lunch. And to me, I'm like, I mean, we're all stoked because we like the band. This is before Pure Noise. This is before Laugh Tracks, Will Putney, everything. Like, we were very just DIY, playing wherever we could, whatever. Tom liked the band, so he reached out and wanted to get lunch with us. We got In and Out together. It was the first time I ever got In and Out. And he just kind of talked to us about like what we wanted to do as a band, and he gave us a lot of advice. And like, if you know Tom, like, he's just a very passionate person about this stuff, and he cares so much, and he's got his hand in so many different things as far as like managing, and he has his own label and then his band and et cetera, et cetera. So like, he kind of just like had a really long conversation with us about like what we wanted to do and where we saw ourselves going, and he gave us a lot of advice. And he was actually the person that told us that we should go to Will Putney for Laugh Tracks, which started a very, very like another really important relationship for the band. But I remember like having lunch with Tom and being like, him being like, where do y'all want to record? And he's like, would you ever go to a producer? And me, like, being naive and not knowing really what a producer's job was, I was like, we write our own music. And he was like, well, that's not really what a producer does, and kind of like walked me through that conversation. And he was like, this guy, Will Putney, he really likes your band. Like, you should think about going to him. And Isaac, our guitar player, was familiar with Will Putney, but I wasn't really. And yeah, like, he opened the door for that conversation, and now we've done Laugh Tracks and A Different Shade of Blue with Will, and like consider him a great friend as well. And we actually, like, just a little bit more background information on that tour. The first time we ever came to California is the first time that Pure Noise ever reached out to us. And we didn't know if they wanted to sign us yet, but we knew that they knew who we were, and we brought that up to Tom, and he also helped us a lot and gave us a lot of advice when it comes to that, and like told us that it was a really good place for us where we were at the time. And then that night he even bought us a hotel room, which was very rare at the time. So yeah, like, first time I ever met the guy, he rolls out the red carpet for us in California. now I'm lucky enough to call him a friend.
That's fucking amazing. What did you give In-N-Out of 10?
So first time I don't think that I really liked it because it was like you hear so much about it that I feel like you kind of build it up in your head.
Yeah.
But now after coming back, like I actually live in Los Angeles too.
Oh, cool.
I moved here towards the end of last year, so even like living here or even coming here before that, like it's really awesome. You just kind of have to like readjust your expectations. Like it is just fast food. You're not going like it's not high dining or whatever. So fine dining. It's just a greasy fast food burger. And it's awesome. It's one of the best fast food burgers for sure.
When you're in the van, what is your food stop of choice? If there is somewhere, like where's A+, if you can stop at any kind of fast food place on the road, where would you stop?
I would say that, all right, there's different categories.
All right, let's do this.
Food is something that Knocked Loose is very passionate about. I will say what we eat the most because of like convenience is Taco Bell.
I like Taco Bell. I'm big on there because I don't eat meat. They do a lot of good cheese-based shit for me.
Absolutely. That's a big reason. Like we eat meat, but like if we're touring with people that don't, for a while, like our sound guy was vegan, so like that, and for a long time our merch guy was vegetarian, so like Taco Bell was always easy. So it's like after the show when it's late, it's easy to hit Taco Bell. But I will say that collectively the band's favorite is Sheetz.
Sheetz, interesting. I've never had Sheetz. Sell me on it.
So it's just a gas station, which is like insane. It's like when you explain Sheetz to somebody that doesn't know what it is, they just can't believe it. So it's just a gas station, but in there's like these touchscreen kiosks where you just order like shitty food, like deep fried macaroni and cheese and like cheeseburgers with mozzarella sticks on the burger and like just like crazy like stuff.
America.
Yeah, exactly. And like you fill up on gas while they're cooking your food, you get your food, you grab a drink, and like it's just so good. And are you familiar with Wawa?
No, fill me in.
So Wawa is kind of like the Northeast version of Sheetz, and it's kind of like, I would say like the healthier option. Like you can go and get like deli sandwiches and stuff, but it's the same vibe where like you go and you pick on a touchscreen kiosk and you put in what you want and then they make it for you. But there's like a war between Sheetz and Wawa, and Knocked Loose is like 1,000% Team Sheetz forever. And then two more food categories.
Yeah, let's do it.
If we're not in America, we get McDonald's. And it's
reliable.
Dude, McDonald's in other countries is so much better. Like, it's just like in America, you're allowed to serve dog food. But in in Germany, like their quality of food is so much higher that when you go to McDonald's, it's like a completely different experience. And that's also a weird one to like explain to people that have never been. But it's just so much better. Like the quality of food is better. It's they have like different menus. There's a cheeseburger in Germany called the chili cheeseburger, and it's like cheese and jalapenos on a burger. At McDonald's, it's just like a regular like dollar menu item, and it's amazing. Like
I had avocado on a burger in Japan in McDonald's. How does that happen?
That's what I mean. It's just like way better. And like, granted, I am trash. I ride for McDonald's and Taco Bell and like all the shitty places, but it's just different. Even when you go to Canada, it's like so much different than in the States. And funny story, when we started, so we used to have a merch guy, he quit, and then we got a merch girl, her name is Taylor, and her first tour with us was in Canada. It was like 5 weeks across Canada with Every Time I Die, playing like deep cuts in Canada, like Jonquière, Moncton, Fredericton, like way out there. And we were like, yo, we're so stoked for Canadian McDonald's. Like, it's just better. It's just better. And then that snowballed into us eating McDonald's after every show for like 16 days. And I remember like Taylor was like, you have to take me somewhere else. Like, I can't do this. And it was funny because like we're already kind of like conditioned because we toured so much that like we're kind of like used to just eating shitty.
Yeah.
But like coming from like not being in a van to touring and like eating McDonald's for 16 days straight, she's just like, if you don't take me somewhere else, I'm gonna pass away.
The fact that she managed to last more than 2 weeks as well of non-stop McDonald's, that's good going.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just better. And then so my last food thing, because this has turned into like a giant rant, but
I'm into it.
So Knocked Loose has a tradition. Some people may have already heard about it because we talk about it a lot, but Knocked Loose has a tradition. We've always had it, that if there's an off day on tour, we call it pasta day. And we just get pasta. Like, that used to be like Olive Garden. So like every every off day we would go to Olive Garden and we would eat. And then the bands that we would tour with would start to catch on and be like, yo, we want to come with. So like we would have these big off day like pasta meals. But if you're touring with a vegan, like it's kind of hard for vegans to eat at Olive Garden. I think that like even their croutons have butter in it or like something crazy. So
holy shit.
Yeah, so we would that changed to like the Cheesecake Factory.
Oh, big fan.
Yeah,
big
like
fan.
You have so many more options at the Cheesecake Factory, but it's like, but we would just like, we love the gimmick of like having this like corny tradition that's like, we have to go to the Cheesecake Factory, and it's like, you have to get cheesecake. Like, no matter how much you eat, you have to get cheesecake. And it's just so fun, and I can't wait to go back on tour to have an off day.
So I tell you, man, people don't believe me back home. Have you had KFC's secret recipe fries yet?
I haven't, no.
Bryan Garris, my God, this fucking shit is unbelievable. It'll blow your mind. Like what you were saying about it's not fine dining, I shit you not, right? I've worked in this business long enough for people to have taken me to some nice fucking places, right?
Okay.
A contender for the best fry I have ever had. Full-blown gourmet shit. It'll blow your mind, man. The next time we speak, I hope that you have had a KFC fry because it is next level.
Is it just so it's just their regular fries?
Nope, they've changed it. They've made them taste almost meaty, which is someone that no longer eats meat. Like they've got to be tasted to be believed, but they used to just be like, I like the consistency and the fatness of their fries anyway. But they've kind of put a seasoning on the fry that is their own secret recipe, like their chicken. Wow. And honestly, Bryan, it'll blow your shit up, I promise.
I will say that, like, being from Kentucky, like, I never eat KFC just because there's some, like, really, really good... I mean, there's the best chicken I've ever had in Kentucky. It's just, like, these little, like, spots that are only in Kentucky. So, like, we go on tour and everybody's like, oh, yeah, KFC. And I'm like, no.
No.
I don't hate it though, so yeah, I'll have to try those fries.
Honestly, especially now you're out here, it doesn't feel like you're selling out your hometown. Eating KFC in Kentucky's got to be a hell of a sell.
Exactly.
Bryan, the live stream is on May 14th. It's called Live from the Blue Room. Get your tickets, knockloose.live. Mate, thanks for hanging out. It's been a real good time, and I hope to see you soon. And if you're in and about California, now that the world's open up, I'm sure I'll see you around town.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you so much for this. I really enjoyed it.
All the best, Bryan. Catch you soon, mate.